but there's a long tradition of these types of voices of conscience. So I just immersed myself in the world of St. Sabina and spent time with Father Mike and his peacekeepers and the community there, and tried to learn as much as I could.
We love you on Windy City Live. Yes, we do. Tell us, how did all this happen? How did this come about?
Well, I play me. I play Val Warner in Chirac, which is really cool. So when people see this movie, they are literally seeing Val, and I am a reporter in the movie.
We talk about the violence, but what can we do personally?
I think we got to be engaged, and I think engaged in a number of things. In our block, in our home, in our neighborhood, we got to be engaged. We got to fight the issues. We got to fight a government that is abandoned, you know, whole communities on the south and the west side. We got to fight a governor who's cut out every youth employment program, who's cut out violence prevention programs, who's abandoned our communities and the poor and the vulnerable. And I think we got to reach out to our brothers on the street and love them and respect them and help them, not just demonize them.
My participation is only because of Mr. Spike Lee, our leader, our director, and he reached out to me and blessed me with the opportunity to be in this film and said that his mission was to save lives in the south side of Chicago.
I'll just say like this. First of all, the history of coming to Chicago and telling my jokes as a young cat. I'm 37 now. I started about almost 15 years ago. Elroy taking me under his wing, let me do some jokes here and there for the radio stations and all that kind of stuff.
We are more than that. We are more than that. We're greater than that. And I feel like in places like this, or Chicago, or whatever you want to call it, the hood, whatever you want to call it, like, it's too much attention dwelled on the negative.
I learned that no matter what you do and how much of a genuine heart you have, and if you're coming from a good place, people are going to criticize if they don't agree with what you're doing.
Hi, we're from Empire, and you're watching the Higher Learning Network.
So how long have you been standing here?
Not too long, like an hour. So we're moving in fast. This is a good sign.
Yo, what's up? It's your man Tony Schofield from 106.3 Chicago's R&B, and you are watching Men on Higher Learning. Now, I used to hang around with some men that was into some higher learning. It just wasn't that kind of higher learning, but I got myself together now, okay?
What is it that you do in your quiet time, in your meditation time, that allows you to bring us the films that you do?
I sit courtside in Madison Square Garden, world's most famous arena.
And you're watching CTV on the Higher Learning Network. Got your head right.
Go back!
great.
You can do it with 3. Yeah, you can join in
This
the
one,
loop.
I think this one's
Yeah.
coming as well.
So just someone has to have, yeah, and then you hold it, and then hold the pedal. And now let go of the hand. And then let go. Yeah, and it stops. But then if you hold it again, yeah. Do you know? Yeah.
What?
Hi, I'm Jasmine. I'm from the Adler Planetarium Guest Services Department. So here we are making our own planets. We have these little styrofoam balls here, and then we've got little rhinestones and ribbons, tape, and tissue paper for you to decorate your planet. So someone left us this one. They were gracious enough to leave that. As you can see, the kids have ransacked it. They've had a lot of fun today. For those who don't want to make one, we have drawing materials, so you can like draw your ideal planet or write what you think an ideal planet would be about, and you can slip it into the time capsule here, and it will be reopened in 100 years to see if anything comes true. So that's what's going on over here.
Cool, and you got free passes too.
We do have free passes. So in these little brochures here, the blue ones are about the planetarium itself. The red ones are about memberships and what they entail. And then we've got these little, where did the passes go? Hold on. Yeah, here we go. Museum passes. So this will give you free admission to walk around and look at the exhibits if you come to the museum. So you have until December 31st of 2020 to redeem them. All you need to do is write your email on the back of them, and then just come to one of the box offices and hand them in, and you are in for free.
Well, what got you interested in space?
What got me interested in space? I've always just kind of been fascinated with it since I was a kid. I'm not, maybe it was E.T. I don't know. I watched E.T. a lot when I was a kid. But yeah, I'm not like an astronomy expert, but the curiosity is definitely there.
PocketCon is a convention that celebrates artists of color and other artists that are and characters of color and other artists and characters that have been systematically priced out of like whose fan base has been priced out of going to the major conventions. So like for example, geek culture and nerd culture is chic right now, and a lot of that is because of black children, and black children's influence on pop culture. But the major cons are super expensive, and it's hard for them to get in there. And as well as the booth and vending prices are really extreme, so it's hard for vendors to be able to kind of make their money back and engage with the population that kind of really popularized all of this. So PocketCon has lended to that, and is free for vendors, it's free for people to enter, and it celebrates characters and creators of color, from writers to artists. I've been blessed in my group, the Microphone Misfits, to have been performed at PocketCon since the first PocketCon. Big up to L.O. DJ L.O. Elgin, who created PocketCon, and Kendra, who also co-runs PocketCon, and I'm proud to be on the board and proud to be a part of the team. Go to pocketcon.org, or you just look us up on our social media. We will open for returning vendors. That'll be in August, and then in the early part of August, and then at the end of August, it'll be new vendors. And it's free. You just register, submit your work, and all that type of stuff, and get to vend and get to engage, and it's cool. It gives because we take away the pressure from vendors. It gives them an opportunity to lower the prices if they so choose. It gives them the opportunity to engage with the kids and engage with the customers versus sell. And it's like you can actually engage and not worry about losing. You know what I'm saying? Black people can take too many losses already, so it's good that we can do that and alleviate that. And
So what we're gonna do is Renee is gonna do like a quick, like what is poly, ethical non-monogamy, all the various words that are kind of applied to this. And then I'm gonna talk a little bit about how it relates to queer kinship and the ethics that we've been thinking about and practicing for a while.
She got a whole doctorate, but I have to do definitions.
We try to share responsibility.
Okay, I'm gonna share clothes, not.
And then we really want to open it up for conversation for folks who want to talk about their experience of being Black and poly or building a queer kinship network, which we can talk about what that means, or who have questions about how to do it. If you're here because you're like, I think maybe one of those things is something I want in my life and I don't have it, then we can, to the best of our ability, based on our experience in the world, answer those questions. There is no single way to do ethical non-monogamy or polyamory. It is as different as every relationship is different, but there are some good general guidelines that we can help you out with. So,
when we talk about, having multiple partners and things like that, it's not like that is an unclear concept. Like, we do that, like, as a society. Like, we know about the side chick, right? Or we just friends, and you got like several E's in that friend, right? The notion of doing that ethically, meaning it's not a secret, I'm not hiding, I'm not lying, and then you can go further into it and to talk about how many details. I think I know who you are.
You came nowhere. I can't take you anywhere.
You came to me.
Yeah, technically you came to us.
So yeah, the idea that you would have those types of relationships and kinships and have it be an open and honest relationship as opposed to the creeping. There's all the songs about creeping. There's so many songs about creeping and keeping it on the down low. And where are the songs about, like, no girl, it's show night. Or the woman-to-woman songs, right? That is like, I'm coming to you as a woman. Exactly. So the idea, and it really is, when you think about it, people are more likely, in my own life, people have been like, oh, your side person, but, oh, she knows about you? Like, that part, like, blows the mind, like, that it's open and understood, and you can actually talk and be friends and things like that. Swinging the sex part without the love part necessarily. I would also say that swinging can be ethical. I have, anecdotally participated in swinging activities, and again, like with full knowledge from my partners and things like that. A lot of things that will concern me usually when my partners are dating is I really care a lot about germs, right? Don't be bringing me no cooties. So it's important to me to trust the people that I'm with, that they are doing the safe thing. And that they are, that I don't have to think about, like, did you use a condom, did you follow our agreements, those kinds of things.
Like, the ethics of love in WAUKANDA, polyamory, and Black queer kinship. So for like a quick overview of queer kinship, it's the way that people build relationships outside of your like biologically or legally connected family, although now we do have gay marriage, so they can be legally connected. But the choices that folks make to build networks around them, often because as queer folks, we have lost connection with bio family because of queerphobia within Black communities, right? So you build up new networks, new connections, and those can be people that you were in romantic relationships with, it can be your exes, it can be all kinds of folks around you that come together and support one another. And you know, Black folks have also been doing this in various forms where someone's just like, that's your cousin, and you're like, but how? And you're just like, dumbasses, and auntie, and like these people are your family, right? So we've been doing that too, but queer kinship, there's like a lot of scholarship just around this term and what it means to like come together as queer folks and relate to one another differently, right? We make different assumptions about queer families where we're not automatically like, oh, when are you gonna have the baby? Like, we don't make assumptions about people's reproduction in the same way, in the way we build relationships in queer communities as much, although, again, that depends on which queer communities you're in. And so polyamory is also about building these relationships. It just sometimes sex is involved, but not always. The ethics that come from queer kinship and polyamory are useful for all of us, whether or not you have multiple partners, whether or not you are a queer person, to learn how to relate honestly to people, to be able to say what you want and need, to hold boundaries. Like, these are essential if you're going to have multiple relationships with multiple people, but it is also important just to be a person in the world, to be able to say, this is what I need, to ask for help when you need help, or to ask for something that you want instead of playing games of being like, well, I hope he just reads my mind. I hope he watches enough romantic comedies to know. Just say what you want. And most of the time what we want, when we don't want to say what we want, it's because we're afraid of hearing no, and so also being able to hear no from your partner, right? So if you ask for something, what you don't want to hear is, if you're like, I want to move in, the reason you're not saying I want to move in is because you don't want to hear your partner say, I don't want to move in with you, because then you don't know how to continue that relationship if you can't get what you want. So it's hard. You are forced to have to keep butting up against those things rather than avoiding them and hoping that you just figure it out later. You put those things out there earlier on in poly relationships. So for me, I don't want to live with anybody. I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. So right away, that has to be out there. It has to be very clear. And then I have long distance partners. So for me, another important thing is making sure that whoever I'm with gets that this person might not like be living in my house and around, but they are my partner. They are the love of my life. So you cannot pretend that this person doesn't exist. So I need you to like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie or pretend. You know, the poly community is real white, and so I'm also interested.
It's very white. Yeah.
Very, very white. It's often represented by like a white hetero couple that's looking for their bisexual babe who will only have sex with them and no one else ever. But Black folks have been having various ways of building relationships, in part because we weren't allowed to get married. We weren't allowed to have the legal recognition for our like relationships and families, or access to lawyers to make that happen, right? If you have legal adoptions, that person's just moving in with you now, right? So we've been doing this for a long time. It's just the way people came up with a name for it and are like, we're marginalized now by this, but like we've already been. So let's talk about, like, I just want to talk about it. And also, this is one of the last panels of the night, so people can hang out and like meet each other. So when you want to like ask your question, you could also be like, just single, you know, just put it out there. If you're, you know, looking to find a WAUKANDA bae, get your WAUKANDA bae.
Did you have a question?
So, I think.
Are you trying to be a bae?
You want to talk about some ethics and then we'll take some questions.
What ethics specifically are you thinking about?
Well, like, you know, when you are building a new relationship, what are some of the things that like you do to make sure that everything is on the up and up, or what you feel like is appropriate to build a long-term polyamorous relationship? Like, if you were to meet someone at a bar and they had not done poly before, what kind of things are you looking for?
I would throw that fish back. It's real hard. I got over being around baby poly people a long time ago because of that little glow in your eyes that's like, it's so wonderful. You can love more than one person at a time, and it's great, and it's shiny. And I'm like, come back to me when your heart has been smashed and you're still polyamorous. And we can talk.
When I met Renee, I was dating a married couple, and like maybe the third time that I saw her, she was like, like, look, so me and you, we're gonna be friends. This, I don't know, but me and you, we're friends. So like, when this blows up, you let me know, like the house is on fire, you should get out. And I was like, it just seems like smoky.
Okay, so one of the reasons why I asked these ladies to sit on this panel was because my online fandom is very new, like the last year and a half, but I'm old and I've been writing fan fiction longer than I realized. When I was younger, I was writing fan fiction in notebooks, which still exist at my parents' house in my bedroom at home. And so at that time, there was no way for me to share those things online, so it was just me in a room writing fan fiction about Jake Sisko from Deep Space Nine, and another Bad Creation, and Boys to Men, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I didn't have the opportunity to create a community with anybody through fandom. So when Black Panther came out, I was like, let me Google people who are really into this movie, and I fell into AO3, Archive of Our Own, and I came across these stories that, while they were very well written, they were obviously not written by people of color, specifically Black people, and a lot of the subject matter was very problematic. There was lots of Eric and T'Challa, lots of Shuri and Baku, Shuri and Bucky, Shuri and Eric, and a whole bunch of stuff that I was not down for. So I found one story by a writer who I really loved, and I backtracked to her Tumblr page, and then I found this amazing community of Black fiction writers on Tumblr, and I've been sucked into this vortex for like a year and a half now, and I cannot get out. But the largest thing that I saw when I started interacting with people on Tumblr about the fandom was that it was a safe space for people who never felt like they had a place in fandom, but you always had to kind of assimilate into white spaces, and this was the first time that you could be unabashedly Black and not feel bad about it. So I thought it would be interesting to have a conversation with some people who I think are having real, not only fandom conversations, but writing conversations, and kind of see how we can not only use fandom as an escape from our regular lives, but also as a building block for careers and things that we want to do outside of the fandom. So the first thing we kind of want to talk about is kind of what your experience was prior to Black Panther, how you fit, how you didn't fit, and kind of what Black Panther did for you once it came onto the scene.
So I guess for me, I was mostly reading, and so for me it was finding stories that were well written, thoughtful, that included Black women. You know, you wanted to see yourself pair with your favorite characters, and because a lot of my fandoms, if there were Black characters in the show, no one ever wrote about them, or if there were white characters, they were never paired with anyone but other white people. So in Black Panther, the cast is all Black. So there's no lack of, oh, you know, how is it, basically it came down to how is it written? Is this written for Black people? Like, do I have to explain what a twist out is? Or you can just write it. And there's so much, like, where you just write and you don't have to explain yourself, that, especially the stories that I read, that it just clicked to me, like, this is the community that I'm looking for. So my struggle with fandom really was just trying to find, like, we have this thing where it's like, if you want to see it, write it, and because it's not there. And Black people, we have to, in everything, to build it ourselves. So building it yourself and then having people come in, because these are really well-written stories with amazing plot lines that make you think, this should be in the show, or this should be in the movie, and then to have people come in and be like, yeah, but that was my biggest kind of struggle with the fandom.
So I started reading fanfic in the Twilight era. Yeah, I saw that side. Yeah, but for me, I was just like excited to be reading like more about this universe. Like I didn't really care, but I was like I was younger. Like I was in high school, middle school, so I didn't really care. And then I kind of like, you know, we all have our awakenings at different times. So I was just like, okay, and I started reading a little bit of like Vampire Diaries for like Bonnie Bennett, but so much of that was just attached to like anger about how like they didn't treat Bonnie Bennett right. So I think with Black Panther, I kind of found a place and a reason to write in a way that wasn't like tied to any like frustration or like irritation with how the writers have treated the characters, because in Black Panther, like, yeah, there's a villain, but they all care about their characters. Everyone has their own sort of place to be, and it's not like, you don't feel like you have to like push a character into this canon story or, you know, AU or anything like that. It's just, they're already there, they're all Black, go for it.
Is Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed, into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher learning with Zelda Speaks for your Monday morning mindfulness sessions on Blog Talk Radio, The Female Solution, Mondays, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure and send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Experience mindfulness moments with the mindfulness/stress relief coach, Zelda Speaks. And thanks for sharing the mindfulness moment tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, and stay tuned to your next session of mindfulness on higher learning with Zelda Speaks. Make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening.
Hi, my name is Julie Myresta. I'm with the American Heart Association, and we have been up to our ears in sweetened beverage tax, so I so much appreciated the 5-minute meditation today that allowed me to get back to my center, take a few deep breaths, and really focus on what's important.